I'm going to tell you once and for all how Ozempic works and how it can benefit you. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television, RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. Bodybuilding, non-bodybuilding, we got you covered. We're going to jump right into the questions. The first two questions on the show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. First question: thoughts on taking a pre-workout pump stimulant backstage before pump up?
You know, I know some guys try to do it or have done it. You're not drinking backstage, and those pump products, and you really need to be washed down with some fluids, because the whole idea behind creating the pump is the liquid portion of it. It's infusing nitric oxide, and you have to kind of really absorb it. What I find a lot of times is when you start doing powders backstage, or even using, some people try to use like herbal diuretics. When you're not drinking anything, they just kind of lay in your stomach. And then after the show's over, when you start drinking, or even after pre-drinking, if you drink something, then everything gets activated all of a sudden. So I don't think you should be trying to play any tricks backstage. Plus, who knows how a lot of these amino acids and these, ingredients in the pump products themselves, are going to irritate your stomach, especially with not a lot of fluid in there. Sometimes they, can cause stomach aches, cramping. I wouldn't be messing with anything backstage. All right. I haven't seen any benefit. I haven't seen a person go from, oh my God, they look terrible, to, oh my God, they look amazing, or oh my God, they look average, to, oh my God, they look amazing. Therefore, I wouldn't do it. If it was something that made a drastic difference in how people look, everyone would do it. And everyone doesn't do it. There's a couple of people who are snorting it and taking stuff backstage, but they never look any better. And a lot of the people who do it, who look okay on stage, they looked good before they took the stuff. So my always suggestion is, and this goes for the whole last week before contest prep, if you haven't done it the whole time, don't start doing it now, because more than likely you're going to screw things up rather than make it better.
Second question, again, these first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Your thoughts on the 24-hour urine HGH testing. Are there things to avoid that will give a lower result or high result?
I've looked into this question before. Someone has asked me about that, and you know what? They just don't seem to be very accurate. Testing GH on a 24-hour basis. It's impossible to really just quantify these things. And I know that's not the answer you want, but it's very hard to determine a person's response to growth hormone, because everyone responds a little differently, because there's different ways to test it, to see how you're responding. If you take GH and your IGF-1 goes up, then okay, we know that there's a cause and effect, but not everyone's IGF-1 goes up that high. And growth hormone has other direct effects in and of itself. GH burns fat, it mobilizes fatty acids, it acts antagonistically to insulin. So there are different things going on in everyone's body when they take it. Likewise, if you take a growth hormone releasing peptide to see how your GH levels go up, everyone responds differently to those. So there's really not a good way. The best thing I can tell you to do is number one, we know growth hormone works the most effectively, even better than IGF-1. I don't know why, but it just seems to. Because I think that when you take IGF-1, you downregulate IGF-1 receptors really quickly. But the best growing results and body composition results seem to be when you take growth hormone itself. And the key to knowing whether the growth hormone is going to work in your body is to see if it's real. Okay, so what I recommend you do is test your growth hormone. I sell a growth hormone testing kit on DavePalumbo.com, and it will tell you if what you have is real. It's not going to tell you how much is in there, but it's going to tell you if it's real at least. If you have the opportunity to purchase pharmacy grade GH, like the name brand like Serostim or something like that, I always say go with that, even if you have to use a little less than that, because at least it's dosed properly. And if you know you have real GH, it has to work. Okay, it has to work. So you don't need to do these 24-hour GH tests. You don't need to test your IGF-1. Okay, if you know you have real GH, then that takes all the mystery out of it. When we used growth hormone in the 90s and early 2000s, the GH was all real, so no one cared. We knew that what the results were going to be from it, and they were very consistent. So I know it's a long, convoluted answer to your question, but the 24-hour GH test is not very accurate. I wouldn't even waste my time doing it. It's a pain in the neck to do it. It is a waste of time. These two questions, very good questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Once again, it's an app that you can download on your iTunes or your Android store. And it's $29 a month. You get me as your coach in your back pocket. You get all access to all my writings, all my videos I've ever done in one place. We put up a workout every week. I answer everyone's questions in an open forum. So you see everyone's questions, everyone's answers. Very good learning experience. I also do a Q&A video, it's like an extra Ask Dave, exclusively for the app members every single week. We never miss. And all my protocols are in there: off-season, pre-contest, drug cycles, diets. It's a really good resource for information. And I want to thank everyone out there, because we have a tremendous amount of people subscribe to that. And that inspires me to keep doing it. And I know a lot of people can't afford coaching, but at least you do the app, you subscribe to the app. That $29, helps keep me going and making me keep the education flowing, and it gives you guys access to really good information. So thank you.
Let's take questions from our Instagram and Facebook page. Again, on Instagram, official_RxMuscle. On Facebook, go into the search bar, RxMuscle. Steve Bateman, your thoughts on the use of Ozempic for weight loss amongst bodybuilders? I mean, he goes on to say for people in general, but specific to bodybuilders. I don't know, in say the last 18 months where Ozempic has really taken off, how much of a sample size you've seen amongst bodybuilders, if any, taking Ozempic for whatever purpose.
Yeah, Ozempic, is a GLP-1 agonist that's like glucagon-like peptide-1 agonist. It's just it's a naturally occurring peptide that's produced in our body, and what they found that if they can create drugs that mimic it, like Ozempic, which is semaglutide, and then there's the new one, tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro. It seems to be a little more effective because it has two drugs in it in one. But what they do is they basically tell the brain, stop eating. You're not hungry. And it does this by slowing the digestive tract down. Now, there are some other good effects that come along with that. It seems to have a blood sugar lowering effect. It's not significant, but in people who are like borderline, high blood sugars, a lot of times it restores them to normal glucose levels, which is a good thing. It definitely has a weight loss component to it. And whether the weight loss is actually a direct fat burning effect, which some people believe, or it's because you're eating less food, it's probably a combination of the two. So that's very good for bodybuilding purposes. But there's this persistent, rumor out there that the actual drug eats muscle up. And that's just not true. What happens, and I've explained this before, but it's worth explaining again because so many people are using it now. If you don't eat, okay, because you're not hungry, okay, and you miss meals and you only eat once or twice a day and you lose weight, more than likely you're losing muscle weight too. You're losing fat and muscle. And for celebrities and average people, they think that's cool. They don't care. They just want to lose weight on the scale. However, if you lose too much, it gives you this almost like cachectic look, this drawn look in the face, because you're losing mass on you're losing lean muscle tissue, which is not good, because when you stop taking this drug, okay, and you start eating again, you're going to gain back the weight faster because your metabolism is lower now because you have less muscle mass. For bodybuilders and people, physique athletes who use this, we don't skip meals. So well, if you shouldn't. So if you're eating, let's say your program as a woman is 5 meals a day, now you're eating your 5 meals a day, but you're not cheating in between meals, or you're not snacking because you're not hungry in between meals, because the Ozempic or the Mounjaro will make you feel satiated in between these meals. Used as a tool like that, yes, you're going to still get the benefits of lower blood sugar. You're still going to get the benefits of weight loss because you're not overeating now and you're sticking to your diet. You're going to still get that extra added fat burning effect of the drug itself. And you're not going to lose muscle because you're not missing feedings. You're not missing protein meals like the average public would. And so for the physique athlete, we're getting much better results from drugs like Ozempic and Mounjaro because of the fact that we're not eating erratically and we're not eating, where we're not skipping food. Okay. And I think that's a big distinction. There's a lot of side effects to things if you don't do things right. If you don't eat all day long, of course you're gonna starve. You're gonna be malnourished. You can also become vitamin malnourished too, because if you're not taking any vitamins. So once again, the only thing you need to consider when you take these GLP-1 agonists is, because it slows your digestive tract down, you don't want to get an impaction in your colon, meaning that where there's a blockage of food because it's not moving fast enough. So you have to take a very good quality fiber supplement. Okay, twice a day minimum. Okay, when you're on these drugs. A lot of people use my FiberLize. They get very good results with it. They don't get constipated, but you can't miss, because I'm telling you, you will get backed up on these things at one point or another. And you hear these horror stories. I hear these comedians tell these stories. So a lot of these comedians are they're the worst eaters of all time. They'll take Ozempic and then they can't poop. And so they take like a laxative. They don't take like a fiber supplement, they take a laxative, and then they wind up pooping themselves in their pants because they can't control it, because it just blasts out of their butt. You don't want that scenario to happen. So make sure you take a fiber supplement. But, by and far, physique athletes are so much healthier than the average public. We know about eating, we know about fiber, we know about supplementation. So if we add a drug in there to change our body composition, we know how to make the accommodations so that we don't make these mistakes that the average public would make. Can't hear you, Sid.
Sorry about that. Let's go to Matt Black. Most reputable brands of testosterone. I know there are a lot of fake ones out there, but which ones are most popular amongst bodybuilders, and which ones in general would you look out for?
Well, I would look for the real ones. Look, there's very few pharmaceutical brands that come from a pharmacy these days that would be a recognizable name. Like Upjohn, makes Depot testosterone. That's testosterone cypionate, name brand. It's very expensive. If you have a good doctor, you might get a prescription for that, and you might be able to use that. I've seen it. It is around. It's very expensive, but if your insurance covers it, great. Most testosterone that people are using for hormone replacement these days are coming from rejuvenation clinics like TitanMedicalCenter.com. And they have their own compounding pharmacy. So when you sign up with TitanMedicalCenter.com, they send you for blood work. They do a consultation with you. They find, okay, you know what, your testosterone's a little low. We're going to put you on replacement. And then they'll have their compounding pharmacy send you the bottles in the mail. So, but it's coming from like whatever the name of I forget what their compounding pharmacy they use is, but it'll have that brand name. That's good because it's coming from a legitimate pharmacy. So that's seen way more in today's marketplace than, in the old days where we would see Steris was a company that made testosterone. There were different brands that you can get that were legitimate. Whereas these days, most of it's underground. So there's not going to be, it's going to be, Dragon Farmer, or it's going to be Red Dragon, or whatever the latest, the latest and greatest underground stuff is. Those you have to test with the Roy test kits because you just don't know if they're real. But if you're getting it from a pharmacy, a compounding pharmacy, and it's being mailed to you from a real compounding pharmacy, it's got to be real. You know what I mean? If you're going to a legitimate clinic, that's why I send so many people to TitanMedicalCenter.com, because everything you get from them is real. You don't have to worry about that. And that's my best advice. There's no, like there were in the old days, like, I guess a good example would be like Zambon made Winstrol, and Schering made Primobolan, and this company made that, and which one? Cyril made Anavar. It doesn't exist like that anymore. That's just not the way things get done. They're done in compounding pharmacies now. So I hope that answers the question.
So good one here. You might want to, I guess, write down the names I'm about to say. This question is about bodybuilders that you could classify as right a notch below, I guess, the Olympia top 4. Although there are a couple of names here that you could say are going to squeeze into that 5, 6 spot, whatever. Place these bodybuilders based on their most previous showings: Akim, Tonio, behrooz, Martin Fitzwater, and Bonac.
I can't even remember all the names. I think that? Martin's. I can't even remember all the names. You gave me so many names already. I think that behrooz and Martin are going to do very, very well. I think that they've already proven that they can win multiple shows, and I'm very impressed with the way they look. Akim has come on very strong lately too. He looks really good. I think all 3 of those guys can definitely be potential, top, 8 guys at the Olympia. I don't know if they can make a top 6. It's going to be that top 6 is tight, but I think 1 or 2 of them might sneak in there. And who are the other guys?
Bonac and
Bonac.
Yeah, Bonac. Yeah, that's the only other one.
He's very dangerous too. You see, the Bonac's thing is that he stacks up really well against guys like Hadi, Chopin, and Derek Lunsford because he's about the same height. So I'd like to actually see them in a call out together. I think that would be a really good call out. Every one of those guys can make the top 6 potentially, and it's just going to be a matter of who shows up. The reason why it's so hard for me to make a prediction is because I never know who's going to show up at their very best at any given show. So they're all top 10 guys, but where they fall into that, I guess, final mix is going to be dependent on how they show up. So I'd be just guessing. I mean, Tabani seems to be the guy who can stand with the top guys mass wise. I mean, he's huge, but maybe he won't look as good standing next to genetic freaks like Hadi and Derek, and Samson. So it's hard to make a prediction, based on what we've seen at these shows when they weren't standing next to the top guys in the world. So that's what's going to make this Olympia exciting, because we're going to see new guys up there now that are going to be challenging some of the old guard, and we might see some mix-ups. But guaranteed, the top 6 will not be as predictable as you think, because there's always someone who doesn't come in the best shape of their life. So having said that, I think that the guy we're really going to be surprised by this year is going to be Andrew Jack, who was not mentioned in that list, because Andrew is huge. He's put on so much size over the last couple months. I can't wait to see him. You're going to be in Texas, this weekend, right?
Yeah, next week.
Next week. So you'll be emceeing that show, and Andrew will be making his 2024 debut there, trying to qualify for the Olympia. I think that's going to be a huge, coming out party for him. I think he's going to be people are going to be shocked by how improved he is.
Yeah, no, and I don't know who else is. From my understanding, I think Nathan Epler is going to be in that lineup. Jordan Hutchinson, I believe, assuming that he doesn't outright win the Tampa Pro, but it's not going to be Andrew Jack and Hunter Labrada like it was last year. So I'm not sure, who in that lineup is necessarily going to be able to go toe to toe. But nonetheless, what we saw in Pittsburgh, and then I guess what Chris has shown us privately. Andrew Jack looks immensely improved. He's going to be a real factor this year. I'll see how it all plays out. Question about burnout. This guy says he recently turned 33, been training for many years, won a national title in New Zealand a few years back. I've recently noticed that my body's not keeping up my training regimen. I tire easily, feel weak, and lose desire to train very quickly when I'm in the gym. Just wondering, could I have something like low blood sugar, low test? I've not used anything before, or am I just burned out?
Sometimes guys, and I get caught in this rut too, because I use the gym as like therapy for myself too, like mental therapy. So sometimes I catch myself going too many days in a row, and I'm like, you know what? My lifts have gone down. I look flat. I don't look that good. I'm like, I got to take a day off. So, and sometimes I got to take it too. Sometimes the best I look is when I go away. Like when I went to Mexico, I didn't work out for the whole week. And I really needed, I don't think I've taken a week off since my heart surgery. So for me, I need to do that every once in a while. And I think everyone does. So if you feel a little burnt out and you've been training, almost every day of the week, take some time off. If that's not the case and you have been taking days off and you still feel like that, I would definitely check your testosterone level, because you're telling me you're not taking anything. Maybe your testosterone level is low. That is certainly a possibility. So I would test both those theories out. Number one, go for blood work. Number two, maybe take an extra day or two off from the gym and see how you feel. Maybe change up your diet. Sometimes also eating the same food. Sometimes I also get stuck in this rut where I'm eating. For some reason, I've been on a sushi binge lately. I've been eating sushi almost every day. I'm eating a lot of fish. And sometimes, while it's very healthy and, and my body composition looks good on it, I get a little flat. So every once in a while, I got to run to McDonald's or, Wendy's and grab a burger and fries. And all of a sudden, it like restores my body. So it's good to eat healthy, but you do need to throw a little bit of junk in there if you're training hard to, kind of counteract all that anti-inflammation. You want a little bit of inflammation, because inflammation does help with muscle growth. People think, oh, everything has to be anti-inflammation. If you do too much anti-inflammation, and if you're someone like as neurotic as me who can do so much anti-inflammation because everything I eat is healthy, then it sometimes works against you. So you have to throw some inflammatory foods in there. That's why I try to eat eggs every morning. Whole eggs are definitely, helpful because they have some saturated fat in them. But sometimes it's just not enough, and I have to make meat. I'll tell you what one of my recipes I've been doing, because someone sent me some bottles of vodka sauce and some marinara sauce in the mail. I had showcased it on my Instagram a couple weeks ago, and it's a sugar-free sauce. What I've been doing is I've been taking a pan and I've been putting like ground beef in there or ground turkey, and I've been putting the sauce in there with it and letting it like stew in the sauce almost. And by the time the meat's done, or the chicken's done, the turkey's done, it absorbs all that sauce, and it really gives it a really nice taste. Obviously, you can't do that if you're dieting, but in the off season, it's another little trick you can do. Maybe I'll do a video on it to spice up your foods a little bit without making it too unhealthy. So give that a shot.
Andrew Puzo, I have bad discs in my back, L4 and L5. Would doing Smith machine squats be better than traditional squats, or should I stay away from them altogether? P.S. I do get sciatica often due to my discs hitting my nerve.
I know this is going to sound weird, but when I do Smith machine, I sometimes I find that it's work. I have better time with squats than I do with Smith machine. Now, I don't really squat much anymore because of my fused ankle and I have that torn quad. But when I squat, it's like your body can almost find a groove that's comfortable for itself. So if your back is hurting in a certain plane of motion, or it's like locked because of the surgeries, you can kind of find a comfortable position. Whereas with the Smith machine, you're kind of locked into one position. And if that position is not comfortable, it's never getting comfortable, because you can't move around and find a better way, because the machine is stabilizing the weight in a certain plane of motion for you. So I always did better with free weight squats than Smith machine squats. And so, to be frankly honest with you, I remember before a show once, I had been free weight squatting the whole prep. The last week I said, yeah, you know what? I'll just do some Smith machine squats, because I don't want to, at this point, I don't need to get hurt or anything like that. And I'm only going to, I used to squat like 600 pounds. I would go, so I'm only going to do 4 plates on the Smith machine, which is really not even 4 plates, because the Smith machine stabilizes it. And you know what? I pulled a quad, I pulled a muscle in my quad, because I wasn't used to being into that locked in position. And it forced muscles that probably were not working normally to work. So be that what it may, if you can't do free weight squats, or Smith machine squats are not comfortable for you either because it locks you into position, don't do squats. I don't want to see you get hurt. I believe that squats are the best leg exercise? Absolutely. But if it means you're going to be injured all the time and you're going to have sciatic pain, then it's not worth doing it.
Lucas Conrad, are there any benefits to compounding both HGH and MK677 together if funds aren't an issue?
It's kind of like saying, am I going to grow better if I take testosterone injections with HCG or testosterone alone? The HCG is really not going to add that much more testosterone than what you're taking exogenously already in a syringe. Same thing with GH. You're taking so much GH when you actually take GH, that little bit of extra GH that your pituitary might squirt out in response to MK677 is probably not going to be significant. It's probably not going to be enough to do anything. So you're better off just, if you have real GH, just use the GH. If you don't have real GH, then something like MK677 or some of the injectable peptides that stimulate GH release is better than nothing. But GH is very strong in and of itself, so I don't think you need to take anything with that.
Let's go to Kayvon Sarania. Have you ever found EQ to reduce estrogen?
I mean, I haven't even anecdotally seen it in the literature that it would reduce estrogen, but I've seen some claims that Masteron could block estrogen receptors. I haven't noticed it myself when I've taken I've taken testosterone and EQ together. I didn't really notice like my estrogen levels went down on blood work. I never did a controlled study with a lot of people, so I don't know. I guess theoretically it could, but I don't know how that would happen. I believe that EQ would probably aromatize somewhat into estrogen. So I don't see how that would drop your estrogen levels. Once again, Masteron supposedly, theoretically, if you read Wikipedia, has some sort of an estrogen antagonistic effect, but I don't see that from Decker or like EQ or anything like that.
Brody Martin, when forced to train in the mornings, what would you recommend for a pre-workout meal to help with fuel and pumps? And how long before, say an hour to get digestion started?
Yeah, if you have time in the morning to eat, where you're going to give yourself a 45-minute window or something like that just to digest the food, I do eggs in the morning. I have I always have my new little ways to do things. I'm about doing things quickly. I put 4 to 5 whole eggs in a bowl with a packet of unflavored grits, instant grits, important. I mix it all together, okay? I might add a little bit of water just to make it a little more liquidy, and I put it in the microwave. And I put 3 packets of Splendor in it because I like them sweet. And if I put them in for 2.5 minutes, I stir and I put another 30 seconds, and then I take them out and I eat them. And it tastes like the grits absorb the eggs. You don't even taste the eggs, and it's like you're eating almost like a muffin, And I eat that before the gym. Very quickly absorbed. In 45 minutes, it's in my system already. If I don't have time and I'm rushing, let's say I got to get to the gym early in the morning because I have a long day, and then I'll drink a shake or I'll do a protolyzed pudding. That's my newest thing I've been doing. I've been devouring my new protolyzed pudding product. I don't know if you guys capitalized on the sale we had over the USA weekend, but the pudding is great because it's 30 grams of protein. I usually do a serving and a half, so I do 45 grams of protein. I mix it with about 3 ounces of water in a bowl, and I eat it like pudding while I'm sitting here answering emails in the morning. And then I'll drink like maybe about 6 ounces of water with it just to kind of wash it down after that. And I go to the gym and I train, and it's in my system in no time. It doesn't require any digestion. So depending on how much time you have, you could either do a shake, a pudding, or actually have a meal. I like to have a meal in my belly normally. And so if I have the time, I'll do that. But if I don't, I'll go with the shake because the shake is absorbed quicker.
Take one last question. It's from Austin Nunnery. What insights can you give me about test base? From my understanding, it is testosterone suspension in propylene glycol and has a very short half-life. Right now, I'm running 400 mg a week test E and using 50 mg test base on my quad and calf day split into 4 shots directly in my quads and calves. I feel it does intensify my workout, but the injection site pain and swelling of those areas, that evening is almost unbearable.
Yeah. That's why no one does testosterone suspension anymore. It's unbearable. And first of all, you're looking for major, major trouble. If you want to go back, maybe you can reference Sid, my video about not injecting your quads here, because you will get an infection invariably. It's going to happen. It's not if, it's going to be when, and you're going to be miserable, and you're going to be, it's terrible. Water-based drugs don't dissipate so easily. Quad injections are not a good idea, especially with water-based drugs like Winstrol or test suspension. Keep them out of your quads, keep them out of your calves. If you're going to do it in your shoulders or your lats, your glutes. To me, you're doing by the way, you're doing it the right way, because you got to stay on a long-acting testosterone when you do suspension, because your levels go up and down so quickly that you can't just be on suspension. So you're on the testosterone, which is good. It's giving you a base, and then you're adding the suspension in. I would just do 1 shot a day, to be honest with you. Maybe what we used to do is they came in 30cc bottles, the test suspension back in the day from Steris. And what we would do is I would stay on like at least 250 to 300 milligrams a week of like a long acting testosterone. And then I would take 1 cc, which was 100 milligrams of the testosterone suspension per day for 30 days. And then that was it. That's what we do. And believe me, after the 30 days, I was so glad I didn't have to do it anymore, because it leaves you welted up. No matter where you put it, it hurts. So we would mix it with like a quarter of a cc, usually a injectable vitamin B12, and you shake it up in the syringe, and the B12 will kind of smooth it out. It makes it not hurt as much, but it still welts up wherever you put it. So after a while, I came to the conclusion that it's probably not worth the aggravation to do the suspension, because testosterone is testosterone. So, and then I just started doing the 1,000 milligrams a week of long-acting testosterone spread into 3 or 4 shots a week. And I found that gave me the best results. I wasn't sore from it. And I didn't get any better results from taking suspension than I did from using long-acting testosterone, because after all, testosterone is testosterone. It's the same drug. So I hope that answers the question. If you want to torture yourself with it, do it, but it's probably not benefiting you anyway.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Reminder, all new episode of After Hours. We had PJ Braun, truly great episode. Told a lot of stories. Obviously, he had a lot to say. So if you haven't already seen that, check it out right now on the channel. All new episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. Dave and Chris Aceto break down the Dubai Pro as well as the USA Championships. And then a ton of content from the Dubai Pro from this previous weekend. Still some stuff to go up. Still some stuff to go up from Dave and Armand's Mexico trip. So tons of content that's going to be going up over the course of the next few days. And then, of course, this weekend, the IFBB Tampa Pro. Another very, very exciting show. Mo Foda, Vlad Suharuchko, who are 1 and 2 in Chicago. And I mean, this is going to be another one of those deals. I had the whole list posted earlier yesterday, but here, Ellie, give me 1 second, Dave. I know you're very hungry, but I feel like let me just bring this up. I know you're going to do a full preview later on in the week. Lewis Breed, who was great last year at the Texas Pro. Tim Budesheim, who's been, knocking on the door.
Every show.
John De La Rosa, Dave, after his sensational.
I'm surprised John is jumping in another show, to be honest with you, because I thought he was going to shut it down to the Olympia, but I guess he wants to do Tampa. He's living over there, right?
Jordan Hutchinson, second year, man. Phil Clayhar was in the Olympia last year, and you have a bunch of promising newcomers. Eric Wood, some veterans on Nguyen, Rico Rivas, your good friend. Nate Spear, Dorian Haywood. So yes, it's good. Felix Norman, former. Oh my God, what show did he win? Where did he turn pro? He just had his pro debut a couple of weeks. Anyway, nonetheless. Stash Show, Tampa Pro. Dave's going to do a full preview later on, and then we'll have coverage this upcoming weekend, prejudging and finals. If you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below, and as always, we appreciate all of your support. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.